Welcome to That's My Therapy. I'm Alicia Belzer, a master's student in adventure-based psychotherapy and experiential education.
I'm Amanda Reedy, a clinical social worker, and I work as a mental health therapist. And this is what my voice sounds like.
And this is what my voice sounds like.
And if that's confusing, we get it.
Understand.
Yeah, you'll figure it out, or you'll do your best.
We are sisters and mental health professionals who often spend our days discussing how we find connection, healing, and peace in the world. We believe therapy is a great tool for healing. However, we hope to demystify what healing can look like, as in our experience, humans are intuitive, creative, and determined when it comes to caring for themselves.
Yeah, they naturally find resources outside of therapy to help them heal and grow, and each week we will get curious about therapeutic things that aren't traditional talk therapy, and we'll break down why those things might be working for you from a clinical lens. Because at the end of the day, there is no one way to do therapy.
We come to this show, as a reminder, not as experts, but as fellow explorers of what really helps humans promote change and health. Let's get it.
Okay, so welcome to our brand new show.
It feels fresh.
It does.
Okay, so we'll start with some hey, hi's, and hellos. We see each other often.
Yeah, we both live in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
A little bit out about Ali. You start.
Okay, I am a...
She's gay.
I'm... Thank you so much. I was like running through the priority list of things in my head to share.
Number one, she's queer as fuck.
I get it.
We love her for it.
It's true. Mm-hmm. We're queer, and my joint pain is moderate to severe. I do go to school I'm a master's student with Prescott College, and I'm studying adventure-based counseling and experiential education. And I am currently working at a charter school here in Boise as an adventure educator. And yeah,
I would just say each week we are regularly chatting about things, and we get really excited when we find something that is helping us function in this world, because this world can be hard sometimes. If you haven't noticed, it can be a little tricky. Yeah.
The only type of gun control I'm not a fan of is when we're shooting the shit.
Oh, that's good.
Thanks.
Don't holster these conversations.
Tread on me, Daddy.
Oh. So, that's kind of what's going on in your life.
How are you?
I was gonna say you're historically mentally ill.
Oh. Past, present, and future, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, mentally ill people tend to make great empathetic therapists.
Yes,
so.
yeah. And you want to talk about someone who's had to learn to make systems
work
for her to function in her own neurodivergence.
Yeah. I've read several books that have helped me brush my teeth twice a day.
Yeah. So we really are not experts here. We are learners alongside.
I think it's important for us that we don't need to be professionals in this podcast, and rather like talk about what we do love, which is therapy and why it works.
Yeah.
And we love talking about therapy not as therapists.
Right. And we love talking about the therapeutic things that happen in our lives that I feel like make a big difference. Yeah. Which is just really noticing. Like, we're just noticing when things give us just that little drop of dopamine to help us do really, like, basic things.
New with Manda. New mother.
Yeah, I had a baby earlier this year.
She's ancient. We're pretty professional at this point at parenting.
Oh, the baby's ancient? Yeah, 8 months old. Yeah, she's practically gonna go get her
she's grown.
Driver's license, the CL kind. She's really independent.
What do you mean, like the truck driving?
Yeah, the truck driving license.
She's pursuing a working trade, which I really appreciate. I mean,
she's pretty astounding. There's so much that's so wild about seeing a person become a person.
Yeah. We get little glimpses of her personality.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I'll say I've had a lot more creative energy since having a child, and I don't think that's everybody's experience, but for me it was really pointing to I was probably pretty burnt out doing
therapy
community
work.
mental health,
yeah,
like 40-50 hours a week, and finding that now I have a lot more space in my life. I'm still working part-time, and then got my little baby at home, and I just feel like I've got a lot more space to think about what's actually helping me through this time and connecting with others, myself, my body, my baby. It's all good.
Hashtag truly blessed.
Yeah. Let's see. So let's talk about, for you, what has been therapeutic.
We'll do this with Manda next week, but figured we'd start with ourselves. Things that are working for me lately as therapy is rock climbing. Probably specifically getting together with a trusted group of ladies. One, I feel like I've always resonated with this feeling of really never wanting to go. And then I'm there and everything about me becomes more aligned and regulated.
Right. Yeah, never wanting to actually go to the gym, but like feeling...
after great. I go.
Mm-hmm. So what do you notice? Like, what do you notice feels like a shift from when you are at home in your head thinking about going versus while you're there, and then what happens after?
So before I go, it feels usually overwhelming to leave whatever activity or spot or lack of activity that I was entrenched in before leaving. Mm-hmm. And then thank goodness for the community that I climb with, because it's expected for me to be there. But a thing about me is if I'm left to my own devices, it probably will rarely happen.
Right. Yeah. Obligation is a real helpful tool.
Let's
try and stop pretending like we need internal motivation in order to be successful. Set up some systems that require you to show up.
I am constantly seeking external obligations so that I can do what I want to do for my body.
Yeah.
So usually it's my partner that gets me up and out of the door.
Yeah, she's so disciplined. She's
is a neurotypical human.
To the max.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we love her for it.
Yeah, so as a neurospicy individual, I love being dragged places by her. And then while I'm there, like, pretty immediately, just, like, the changing of space has an effect on my demeanor, my openness. I feel kind of immediately just a little more cracked and less guarded just by entering the space. That was different than the one before.
Right.
Especially, like, a space that's, you know, imbued with intention of, like, oh, this is the place to climb.
Do you know what's also really signals your system that you are changing the intention of your, like, mental space and then your, like, physical space is that you have to put on specific shoes.
Right.
You
get dressed.
I am
to do
shedding the person I was prior to this hour I'm going to climb, and I'm going to put on these really weird, crimpy shoes. Tight shoes.
You're clearly doing one thing.
Yeah, you actually, you can't really get lost in, I'm not going to be doing this, because your shoes make you very aware that you're there to climb.
How true. Yeah. I mean, we chat a lot with our rock climbing shoes on.
Totally do, but at the same time, it's like...
We're there.
And if we're wearing our climbing shoes, we're
doing it.
We're doing the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing about climbing that is so awesome is... I think it's different for me than typical, like, lifting heavy things and putting them back down. Typical reps and sets mindset of working out. Is that I'm immediately faced with, like, a puzzle.
Yeah.
That, luckily, my body can solve. So, like, no matter... There's obviously, especially in the higher levels of climbing, which I'm not at, there is, like, a mental game that comes with it. But for the most part, like, my body knows what to do and can do it. And I immediately feel that, like, connection to the project, and things kind of fade away in the way that focus will bring clarity and kind of like almost a sense of peace just by like removing other things and focusing on one task.
Yes, yeah, because you have to, because I think the tiny bit of danger that rock climbing adds to, like, you're aware that you are off the ground.
Oh my, it's another self-motivation thing of like...
Yeah, you cannot be thinking about the paper you haven't turned in, or the friend you need to call, or the way that, you know, whatever has been kind of plaguing your mental state is... Anytime that those thoughts either can't creep in, or when they do, they have to be immediately refocused towards, I'm a human being on a wall that I could fall off of.
Yeah, and if I fall, and not safely, I'll hurt myself. So I better do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there's some real truth in that.
Yeah, there's, you have to be really centered and grounded in your body in order to complete these puzzles.
Yeah.
And we know there's bilateral stimulation, right? And I say that meaning that, like left, right hand, right foot, left foot movement as you're moving up or across something is helping bridge the mental crosswalk between your left hemisphere and right hemisphere of your brain, which we know assists in trauma processing or honestly just moving through all of the emotions through the day. And all of this is happening without you even having to say, oh, today I had a lot of anxiety, or today I was not compassionate to myself, or, you know, it's like you're doing this without actually having to talk about it or really think about it.
Right. How true. Yeah, I feel like both sides of my brain are communicating, and then whatever relationship I had with my body that day, my mind and my body are connected while climbing.
Yeah.
So, and oftentimes, at least how it manifests in my mental health is, it's not necessarily a tumultuous relationship with my body, but it is a very disconnected one. And I often have to bring my body into spaces for me to feel it.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm just very numb to what it's feeling and what it needs.
Right.
It'll often warn me what it needs with things like pain because I'm ignoring how it's making me feel.
Right.
So it'll just make me feel pain.
Right.
But the last part of rock climbing while I'm there is the community aspect, specifically the one we've created here, which is of majority queer women. And the send train experience that we can cultivate in a gym.
Yeah. So maybe send train, and maybe explain what that means.
Oh, send train. So send is when, if you send a climb, if you send a route, it means you got to the top successfully.
Yeah, you completed it.
You completed it. And so send train is when you're all projecting one climb that's particularly tricky, but you know you all kind of can get it, and you all have different strengths and can do different moves well. So you're all giving each other beta, another climbing term, which is just like advice.
It's like consensual backseat driving.
It's like, beta spray.
Yeah, you're like, help me get here, and only do it when...
Yeah, so tell me what to do is the beta.
Yeah.
So you're all
when
getting...
I ask for it.
when specifically asked.
Yeah.
When you're climbing with maybe a stranger, or... I've done it too many times and it's always a mistake, climbing in like the first or second date. There's a tendency to have an act like you've been there.
We noticed that at the climbing gym we go to, that there's a culture, and I totally get it, and it's sort of how you probably don't look like a Gumby, you know, which is
a
like,
Jerry,
just like a new climbing person.
Yeah.
But you know what? We decided we don't care. So this act like you've been there culture is really like you do something really hard and then you just hop off the wall and you just look totally even, totally regulated, like it was nothing for you.
You've been there before.
Right. Like, don't celebrate it. And Allie and I decided we are going to act like you've never been there, because we haven't, and just celebrate the shit out of it.
Celebrate the shit out of it.
Why are we regulating our joy for the sake of, like, I don't want to embarrass myself, or I don't want to appear new at things? So it's like, let's celebrate being new at things. Let's celebrate, like, me finally getting a V3. You know, Allie's a much better climber than me. So I'm like, I don't care, because I get to also celebrate my victory. I don't have to get to V5s or V6 before I can start being proud of myself.
How true. Yeah. And I think what we found is that our joy kind of like permeates to other people in the gym too. Like we've been approached and been like, you seem like you guys are having a really good time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I think people under the surface want this. They want to celebrate the things that they're actually proud of themselves, and we don't give ourselves permission to like feel pride. Like if you're doing a V0, which is like the lowest level, and you're terrified of heights, or you're trying something new and just getting on the wall and hopping off, and if that's brand new for you and you feel proud of yourself, like be with people who will protect that pride and like fuel it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the really special part of the community I found here in Boise.
Yeah.
Everything you were just saying reminds me of this feeling in high school that I
love a high school story.
Really tried to manifest for myself.
Okay.
And what I noticed was that the coolest people and most respected people were not the ones that were like happy all the time, nor the ones that were gloomy. Like there's a spectrum of like acceptance and all that. Like, oh, he's the cool, edgy, angry one. Yeah. But the real like cool cats were so unbelievably neutral.
Yes.
About everything.
Yeah.
And I got it in my head that like neutrality and like not reacting overly positively or negatively to anything meant like true maneuverability among social
adaptability
groups. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And I've had to fight because I think I'm a pretty expressive lass.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, I just love that I can get excited over a cup of tea. I love that, a bite of roasted potato could, like, bring me to my knees, you know? And it's like, why do I need to pretend that I'm not experiencing these things in order to spare me from whatever, like, judgment from other people?
Yeah. Do I think caffeine actually works? I think I'm just really excited to be drinking tea.
Yes. Yeah. So I think maybe that's the lesson from climbing. It's like, let's celebrate the things that we're like secretly regulating within us because we think, I don't want to be embarrassed. Yeah. Fear of embarrassment is stealing our joy, is a thief of joy.
Right. Like a fundamental aspect of experiential education is the thought is that we do learn by doing. We also learn from talking about what we did.
Right.
But we can learn so much just by experiencing something.
Yeah.
And we internalize the processes that we expose our bodies to.
Ooh, you know what I also just realized about climbing that's so powerful is you don't make big shifts in order to get to the top. They are micro-somatic shifts. So the way that you're like, if I do something 5% differently in my body, like put this, like hold this, change the way I'm holding this grip.
Twist your hip in.
Yeah. Do this tiny thing. And we see huge leaps in ability or what you can accomplish. And when you think of it from like a sensory motor psychotherapy perspective, a lot of what we're doing is just noticing the tiny shifts that are already happening in your body that are these messages that actually help us move through our feelings. So like if I were in a therapy session as a therapist with a client and I notice they exhale hugely all of a sudden, like I might just comment on, oh wow, deep
that was a
exhale.
micro shift.
Yeah. And then I might ask, what's happening for you now? And you might be surprised. You're like, oh, I just felt this shift in my body, and I had, 5% more space for something else, for compassion for myself, for like a release of something. I might just notice when you sit back in your chair versus when you came into my office, you're sitting at the edge of the couch, or when your shoulders relax. I might notice if you feel comfortable enough to take your shoes off in my office. Like that feels like those are when I'm noticing these tiny 5%, 10% shifts are actually these huge steps when it comes to healing. And they're huge when it comes to being able to complete this route.
How successful I can feel not having completed a climb, but having changed something so I got one more move. Climbing really reminds me that like the progress of healing is not linear.
Right.
And that I felt massively successful on some climbs that I did not finish.
Right.
And I felt pretty weak on climbs that I did. So the elevator pitch catchphrase we wanted for this show was like, since we're describing so many therapeutic things that aren't therapy,
what's our criteria?
Yeah, we wanted to determine what was our criteria.
And I think therapy really are the things that help you stay close to your feelings, stay close to your body, and stay close to each other. So thanks for listening.
Stay close.
Stay close.
Hi.
No.
Hate that.
Just say welcome.
Yeah.